观众朋友们，大家好，欢迎收看本周的完美主义，我是主持人Siobhan林思韵。今天我们来到了 Huntington Library 位于 Pasadena， 来看他们最新的一个展，叫 Geographies of Wonder。那这个展呢，讲述的是美国国家公园的发展历史，从30年代到至今的一切的挑战，一切的这个历史发展呢，都涵盖在里面。相信呢，我们平时呢都去过很多的国家公园了，但是今天我们来深入的了解一下国家公园的历史。
I'm Peter Blodgett. I'm H. Russell Smith Foundation Curator of Western History at the Huntington Library.
Hi Peter, how are you today?
I'm fine. How are you doing?
Good. I feel so good to be in such a beautiful, beautiful museum, and it's just very historical feeling for me. You know, it's beautiful. So, for Geographies of the Wonders, can you give us an overview of the
Absolutely,
exhibition?
Shimon. It's my pleasure. Geographies of Wonder, Evolution of the National Park Idea, 1933 to 2016, is the second of two exhibits that we're doing here at the Huntington Library in honor of the centennial of the American National Park Service. The first of those exhibits looked at origins of the parks. In this exhibit, we are looking at how the idea of national parks developed in the course of the 20th century, how they evolved, and in time, how the national parks became really a centerpiece of American life and culture.
Wow, that sounds exciting. So let's go to the actual gallery and check it out.
Our exhibit here is drawn principally from materials here at the Huntington Library, although we've also borrowed a handful of items from some private collectors. It's organized essentially chronologically from the 1930s to 2016 around the room, and I thought we could begin by looking at some examples of how the national parks were promoted for public interest.
Yeah.
In the 1930s, of course, most Americans who traveled a long distance initially were traveling as they had for 50 years by train. But the automobile, of course, was becoming increasingly important.
Yes.
And as we can see in this advertisement, you have an example of how airlines are beginning to take advantage of the concept of national parks as part of a draw for them as well. The numbers of visitors actually very quickly skyrocketed. You can see in 1941 there were 21 million visitors to the national parks. That number increased 50% only a decade later to 32 million. And that enormous influx, even though the Park Service is growing, even though there are more parks being created, it began to raise an issue about concern about what would happen to the parks when 30, 40 million people per year are flooding into the parks. People began to realize that they would have to give serious thought to how do you preserve the wildlife? How do you ensure that the landscapes are protected while still being accessible? There are two big concerns that are rising up. One is, of course, as we were just speaking about, the numbers of visitors, as you can see from that two-page spread from National Geographic. That's the traditional campfire talk by a ranger, which has been beloved by tourists for decades, but
So many people.
Exactly. The other concern was developments outside of the parks.
Right.
Dams on the Colorado River, dams on the Green, dams elsewhere in the West to help economic development of the country. And so conservationists began to argue that allowing these to unfold without any opposition would mean we may end up letting them ruin our national parks. By the 1970s, of course, you had the national park system expand to 200, 250, 300 units, more parks, more national monuments, more seashores, historic sites, all with the intent of bringing more people in. The Park Service is trying strenuously to meet these new needs and new interests, and one of the most significant approaches they undertake is an approach that's represented very close to us here in Los Angeles, and that's Santa Monica Mountains National Recreation Area. The National Recreation Areas were an effort to do what various Park Service people called bringing the parks to the people. It included state parks, reserves set aside by county initiatives, historic sites, ranches, historic homes, and it captures a whole array of ecological sites, from oceanfront ecology, marine tide pools and all of that, up to the sort of subalpine level of the Santa Monica Mountains, so that it brings so many different uses and so many different activities into the same system, and managed by the National Park Service, but also by many other agencies. We hope that as many of your viewers as possible will join us for this and other exhibits as well.
I'm sure they will.
以上就是本周完美主义的所有内容。今天听 Peter 馆长聊完，也看了这一路上国家公园的艰辛历史啊，我更加深刻地体会到了那句话：保护环境，人人有责。希望看完这期节目的你们还有我一样，提醒自己，去到国家公园或者去到任何有大自然的地方的时候呢，都要记住不要乱扔垃圾，看到垃圾呢随手捡起来，这样才能保持它的美丽。感谢您收看本周的完美主义，我是主持人佘棒林思韵，我们下周再见。